had invited the Madlanga Commission to go to the same pair car coming in. Is that when him and Ket Matlala, he refused. He was afraid. His lawyer said, you can Google it and go back on the record of Matlanga Commission. His lawyer said, these people are very dangerous. That Nona cannot read out their names. One of the very dangerous people in this message is Gerald Sibia. These are words from Gerald Snona with his lawyer that he cannot read out his name. I'm the author of the WhatsApp. His was only to read the WhatsApp because he did not write it. I wrote it. But because he knows the content that is the fact, he's afraid to read out the names because this Mutsume is going to know that Snona and Kat, they were snitching on him. Therefore, he might have to deal with him somehow. That was the only reason that made Sinona be afraid to read. That took the judge at the Madlanga Commission to overrule and forced him to read the names. So he read the names under duress before the Madlanga Commission. So, honorable members, this is a clear indication that the content of what is discussed at Paris, I put it on the WhatsApp that will be read by Snona, and Snona was afraid to read them. If he didn't know Mutsome, if he didn't know how dangerous beer is, what would have made him to be afraid to read this? Because this was the actual fact of what we discussed on the day. So that's what I was giving it to him, that he must not lie before the commission, because that's what the meeting is about. In actual fact, I preface this WhatsApp by saying, if I were to quote, you made arrangement that I meet this guy, Kat, because he's your friend and brother, and he needed my help to speak to Gerald. I did information about a house in Sentin, where Sbia collects money using the state vehicle, and that he, Kat, paid over 2 million rand towards Sbia's purchase of a plot. And he also told me about Sbia's townhouse. The fact that he's the one who introduced this meeting at the committee, so I go on and say, he invites me to come and make this information available before this committee. And he therefore must not accuse me. That's what I say on the almost another paragraph. I hope you won't blame me for risking his life because I have to tell the truth about our meeting. I was well aware when they were giving me this information that they were snitching on their crew. And one of their crews is Gerald Sibia and Steve Mutsumi. They were snitching on them. And that's why he was afraid to read these two names. On record, the judge made remarks, being worried because another Shibiri who works under Sibia was afraid to read another name before the Madlanga Commission. That tells you that there are powerful people out there that they have been feared by the top generals in the police. That's why the judge even was concerned about it, that if the generals are afraid, who then is going to protect the citizens? So this is a background behind why I had to write this. It was because I wanted to put on record clear that what Matlala was presenting before you was not a fact. These were the facts. Kumalo, subsequent to this meeting, will show you the affidavit and the member that was sent by SBIA and the communication between Kumalo and SBIA after this meeting as a follow-up and a further information out of this meeting that was provided. I'm not privy to that, want to explain it, not unless any further questions.
These allegations, especially the ones against Sabia, have they been followed up? They've been investigated? Why is he not? He's under suspension. That's his current status, is it?
The jurisdiction. Almost everything that is presented to me, I said, this, what investigation team? The counter investigation team that is in Gauteng. So this information must go to them for further investigation. So if I get information, I'll only share with them. So the details of what are they, how far are they with the investigation, I think they're in a better position to come and present. I'm in KZN, I can tell you, honorable chair members, that 200 million rand worth of drugs were lost in KZN. And that worried me. But that case docket is with DPCI at the national office also. But on my own digging on the side, I've discovered things That's why I'm engaging with the DPP about it. Which unfortunately seems to link the very same characters we're talking about in Gauteng.
Just talking about drugs getting lost while we have the benefit of having you here. There was also, and your reference to Honorable Adams, there's also, do you know of a Cape Town case where there was also seizure of a substantial, I'm not sure what the amount was, maybe over 200 million of drugs, hard drugs, I think Mandrex, seized. But when he made further inquiries about the matter, it appeared as if the drugs were gone, they were lost. And the only inference that he can draw is that those drugs are now out on the street, and they've been put on the street by dishonest SAPS members.
Honorable Chair.
Maybe you can help us with what
Honorable
happening.
Chair, I'm not in Western Cape, so I will not necessarily have the details, but in having listened and watched this commission on television, the Honorable Mr. Adams, when he presented here, when he was asked the question, how did he know about it? He said he was told. So the moment the person says that, but is 100% sure this is what happened, it's questionable. What I said before, and I'm going to say again, South Africans must know, you must know, that drugs in the main that are found in crime scene, me as a provincial commissioner, I cannot guarantee 100% that entire consignment that is found in the crime scene is the same consignment that lands at forensic. It's the same consignment that is destroyed. Firearms are found in crime scene. On register, they are destroyed, but the police find the same firearm in another crime scene. So if it can happen with guns, the likelihood is that it can happen with drugs. The belief, the intelligence we get is that the information at hand, the honorable members that are within the police committee can tell you, the police does not test 100% of the consignment we get in our forensic. We don't.
Do you share the view of Lieutenant General Kumalo that some 90% of SAPS officers in Gauteng are on some or other payroll of these drug syndicates?
I might not talk about the percentage, but what I can talk about, all chair and members that I've said before, we have three categories of employees in the organization. We have the hard-working ones that are straight to the point in the fighting crime. We have the corrupt one in the opposite that are participating in the wrong. And we have the missing middle who don't want to act and just turn a blind eye on what is happening, the lazy ones. So some of them are influenced by fear and for them not to act. So if you fail to act where you're supposed to act as a police officer, you're as good as a bad one. So those are categories of employees we have. I don't have the figures. I cannot talk about percentages, 90% and so forth. But by and large, the biggest problem of wrong that is done by the South African Police Service in the country, you'll find it in all provinces, but mainly we'll find it in Gauteng, and mainly you'll find it in the borders. The border police, good percentage of the members working there, they're not good. A big percentage, I won't put the number. In Gauteng province, majority of the members that are working there are not necessarily doing good things. But I'm the one that came here and said, 2 junior members, sergeants, they started this chaos, if we call it a chaos, but they uncovered these problems that we've been talking about in Gauteng. Those are the 2 members that invited Jara Kumalo to join them and his team. It's those 2 members that led into other detectives and other members to join them. Those 2 members that led me in KZN to become involved. Unfortunately, they are still sergeants. Despite all that, they are still remain sergeants. They are still not sleeping at home. They are in Gauteng. So we can't say the entire Gauteng is bad. And we can't say the entire Gauteng is good. We must accept that we have quite a lot or bad apples amongst us.
Yeah, General Masemola yesterday described it as perhaps as an exaggeration, but he also said that as far as he was concerned, most of the police officers are honest and hardworking. But he also added another category, the missing middle.
I gave you three categories. Not all of them are hardworking. A good percentage, yes, but there's also a good percentage not. So to what percentage it is between the two, I cannot tell. But I know, and I'm going to demonstrate here in these next few hours about the connections that Mr. Adams has that led into him finding himself in prison in KZN to come and give you a statement from an arrested person. It's a testimony that's coming. That's a bad thing in KZN.
Now, if we can just go to the briefing of the 6th of July, and you've got the memorandum which we also made available to the committee. During the press briefing, you made these allegations: an organized crime syndicate, drug cartel is infiltrating the criminal justice system. Is that still your view?
That is correct, Honorable Chair.
Then you say the incident that triggered the disbandment of the PKTT was the arrest.
That's correct.
Senior members of the security cluster who are associated with the crime syndicate issued instructions without the authority of the National Commissioner for the removal of case dockets. That's a reference to General Sabia, is it?
That's correct.
A potentially corrupt relationship existed between an alleged associate of the Minister of Police, named as Mr. Mkhwanazi, and the Minister of Police, Mr. Mkhwanazi. Is that still your view?
That is correct.
A potentially corrupt relationship existed between Mr. Vusumuzi Matlala, who was awarded a police healthcare contract of over 360 million rand in 2024, Mkhwanazi and Minister Mkhwanazi. Is that still your view?
That is correct.
That a member of parliament used potentially classified information that was passed from crime intelligence officials to register cases against crime intelligence officials. This member also sent communication to the Minister of Police and requested him to refer the matter to an independent. And the reference to the independent, that's a reference to the matter ending up with IDAC that then resulted in the arrest of Lieutenant General Khumalo.
That is correct.
Then you also say unnamed prosecutors in Gauteng are part of a crime syndicate, which also involves politicians, law enforcement, that includes SAPS, Metro Police and Correctional Services, judiciary, and is controlled by drug cartel as well as business people. That's still your view?
Yes.
These unnamed prosecutors, are they unnamed because of classified information that you have, or are they unnamed because you don't know who they are? Either you've been told who they are or you suspect who they are, but can you not share it with us?
Well, it is known who they are, some of them, but we cannot share because there's investigations connected.
Does the same apply to politicians?
Yeah, well, we've named some politicians that are part of this, that are enabling it. When I mention the role of politicians, and maybe, I don't know if you want me to qualify this in some instance. Honorable Chair and members, I had spoken about Honorable Adams, I've spoken about Honorable Kola Banat, amongst others, that are politician, Minister Mkhwanazi. But I must indicate that our leaders of society, which is our politicians, might not necessarily be involved with the bad things at the beginning. But because of the corrupt members within, they capture these leaders and they use them. And to extent that when the leader then is used, it either becomes aware but continues doing the wrong. If he's not aware, once this thing is made is brought to his or her attention, and that leader is expected to pull back and then. I believe, I'm still saying here, Honorable Sangwa, that Minister Mkhwanazi was captured to end up writing that letter. But he doesn't accept that. He owns it. Yes, I understand. He typed the letter in his own iPad. The iPad that when he came here and the others said the information was deleted because they went to erase, where the information was taken by the team that was investigating, gadgets were taken. The gadgets were taken, and when the gadgets were analyzed, the information was deleted. All of them were deleted. Minister deletes information from the government document. They delete it. But as I said before, you delete, we retrieve. So we have the information. We know that indeed, he's right. He is an author of the letter. He wrote the letter. He typed it himself. He sent it to his chief of staff. Chief of staff sent it to the PA. What sits in the letter is an electronic signature. It's not Mkhwanazi. It's a secretary that places the signature there. The document comes back to the minister. Minister instructs that distribute. And the chiefs of staff distribute. We then feel, okay, that's how it lands to Mkhwanazi, because while it's distributed to the official email address, there's a private email address where the same document is sent to by the chief of staff on the same day. So I still believe, I'm still convinced that Minister Mkhwanazi was made to do what he did. He was made to do what he did. So it's many other leaders that are made to do what they do. But some of them, then they find joy in it and they go with it. But when we put here the issue of politicians participating, because politicians become enabler, because in the instance of the minister is controlling the organization. For the minister to compromise investigation, honorable chair members, when Kumal and them were arrested, that entire CGI ops operation came to a standstill. Those junior members couldn't sleep at home, could not get paid, could not do anything because the money and resources needed to come from crime intelligence, and they put a stop on it. Honorable Adams is not here now. Millions of rands were spent by crime intelligence from the secret fund account between the time Kumal was arrested and the time when they came back. That they are busy auditing now to try and justify before the Auditor General when the Auditor General is going to come and audit. So that shows the extent of the problems that we had. So the investigation was frustrated by that arrest. Until they were released, allowed to go back to work, then they continue working. So without going to details, Honorable Ms. Korabalnat to work. The members of crime intelligence, because they did not want them there, they pick up a phone and they contact the honorable member. The honorable member is quick on the pen. She writes a question from Parliament. National Commissioner, why are you violating the court order? Why is this man doing that? What she did not know is that Lushaba did not receive the court order, which was similar to Kumar. The magistrate was sober. He said, me as a magistrate, I'm not going to prescribe where must go. I'm releasing you on bail. The state member that writes a letter saying the National Commission is violating the law. You must arrest Lushaba. So this is just to show you how the politicians have been used. The honorable member can tell you. She received the response. But she was fed the wrong information. So she will end up with the stigma of saying she's working with the team because they don't verify information. You take it and you jump and you run with it. You know, I respect the leaders of Southside. Honorable Adams sitting here, we still call him honorable. Despite the fact he called himself a thief, that we still call him honorable. The reality is, once they start getting involved as leaders on things that are supporting the rot within the justice system, working with the criminals outside, business people outside, he then compromises our leaders. Each one of the parliamentarians represent millions of South Africans, so we cannot undermine their presence here. Regardless of how they behave, they represent people, so we must respect that. I will still call them honorable, despite how I feel. But it's that which I want to indicate as we have it here, that yes, the members, the politicians and the members of parliament, they still participate in things that they shouldn't participate in. So I will ask that They will have to pause next time they receive information, interrogate information coming before them, so that they make informed decisions.
What we also see in the directive, Minister Mkhwanazi's directive of 31 December 2024, is a reference to not filling posts in crime intelligence and the reference to the border police, border management. Did that surprise you, or is that unrelated to the termination of the political killing stars team, the disestablishment of that team? Or do you connect those three things? If so, why do you connect them?
Yeah, Honorable Chairperson and members, I think we're going to maybe when we SC talk further, be able to dissect the whole letter with those topics.
Yes, I'm asking you now because I may not get there.
Yeah, PKTT is disbanded. What affected me as a provincial commissioner was the first one, the PKTT, because it operates in KZN, nowhere else. That's what worried me. I said, but why would the minister come and disband something that is here, that I'm in charge of, without talking to me? Wants to talk to the minister, to try and establish, minister, somebody might have fed you the wrong information. That's why I reached out to Ngabinde and said, hey, can you get the minister, the three of us sit down, so we can talk about it, so I can establish exactly what's happening. But instead, what I get, I'm being recorded as if I'm threatening the minister. I'm glad that recording was played here. So you have to tell me as lawmakers that it's clear the minister is the one who instructed Ngabinde. Called me because there's a certain agenda that has been pushed. The minister has fed something else. Had I called the minister directly, perhaps he wouldn't be here, because he would have realized what he's been made to do. That is wrong. So that's what was a problem. But the second part of filling of vacancies, I did not understand. But as I started paying attention to what's happening at crime intelligence, then I realized it is crime intelligence that influence him. That minister must not allow these vacancies to be filled, because they're going to be filled by people that they cannot control. And I thought, okay, this is what's coming. But what about the borders? So when we link the chain and we realize there's criminality, and the majority of the criminality of ours, what is investigated, that link the PKTT, touch the borders, because these drugs come from South America into the country mostly. Could it be that there's something to do with the borders? Until Gerald Mosikiti arrived here and she submitted this statement about their engagement with the minister, which made her realize that the minister is talking about the borders because the minister wants the police to withdraw from the borders and hand over this whole policing of the borders to the border management agency. So it's all these things that become clear as the time progresses that ordinarily I didn't know about it at the onset. But as we were putting it together, we were linking it with the drugs. But the latter, why intelligence, why the borders, we didn't understand. But as the time progresses, then we start realizing, okay, this is how all these three subjects are so important to the minister on the 31st of December.
Was this letter of the 31st of December 2024 also a prelude or precursor to you and General Masamolo possibly being arrested, or that your arrest was now imminent?
Honorable
you had the theory that you called this press conference on the 6th of July to preempt your arrest.
Honorable Chair and members, I've said it before that I'm going to invite you, if honorable members are not going to get to that, but it should be on the annex, the affidavit from BMA that involves that sergeant, that he had ran with the abducted person to Mozambique illegally. So BMA says so, that he crossed to Mozambique without going through the system. And he only came through the system when he came back. The statement under oath.
Yeah, you can refer to the letter. It's the Home Affairs. It's in the bundle.
It's in a bundle.
Yeah. Lots was. It's item 5, honorable member.
not seeing it here on my bundle. But honorable chair members, if you do have in your bundle, then it's fine. I know of an affidavit that was it. This. Oh yeah.
Immediately
here's the Home Affairs.
After the handwritten letter.
Yeah. So this is a person that the team investigating the kidnapping tells me they are tracing this. They found Nangi and they chased Nangi to Mpumalanga to a house. The man is not there in the house. They follow to other addresses. They are told the man has crossed to Mozambique with the victim. And the victim was released 2 weeks later and dumped next to the garage in the north of KZN, next to Mozambique border at Mangus. And was blindfolded, he did not know. But the DNA of the victim was found in the very same house that is alleged to be burned, which is a very interesting thing. The DNA of the victim was discovered by forensic in the house that was allegedly burned, which confirms that the person was kept in that house. So it's a very interesting thing that comes with this session that is allowed to come here by Mr. Adams. Home Affairs says this man did not cross the border. The information the team says he ran with the criminal into Mozambique. Home Affairs says he didn't cross it. When he came back with a temporary passport arranged by the commission that side, this is how he was registered coming back into the country. He's a man that is a police officer who's been working in that border police for many years. It's a police officer who runs a funeral parlor. I wonder what has been moved with those funeral parlors between Mozambique and South Africa. I want the parliament to investigate such. These are critical. Sinona says to me, he speaks to Nangi to drop the charges. It's a year later. I've not been approached by Apita about it. He comes with Mr. Adams to Cape Town to lay the same complaint. On the 6th of July, had nothing to do with that, but it was the effort that one had tried to communicate, to try and find intervention. Maybe in our communication, Honorable Cameron will say, you did not present clear during the 5th of March meeting of the Portfolio Committee the issues that you were worried about. Maybe the committee will have acted differently. Well, we can take that. Perhaps we did not present it. But I felt that now I've tried this, and I was afforded an opportunity, I've tried it. The minister is still denying knowing Brown and all sorts of things. It's clear something's happening here. Fortunately, the very same IDEC with members that are inside IDEC that are sharing information with me, I was able to know before Khumalo is arrested. I told Khumalo that when you leave Cape Town, when you land at the airport, it will find you there. And that's exactly what happened. When I got information from IDEC, the National Commission, when you touch down in Cape Town, they're going to arrest you. The plan now is to put me as acting. So that's information I had to share because it was coming from the people that are investigating, that have been told, do this now, do that now, do this. Because they had failed to get me a DPCI because of his age. And the next plan was, let's remove the National Commission so that it can take charge. Not because there's a legitimate case, but things were going to be alleged. But that was not the reason for the press briefing in the May.
Okay. As second opposite, can you take Honorable Sangoni?
I'm sorry, Chair. No, it's just been bothering me a lot since the morning. General Mkhwanazi keeps saying that witness Mlotshwa, who was brought here by Adams. Can I just get clarity? I thought Mlotshwa was a public participation witness, or is that evidence that's still going to be led?
Mlotshwa is from Mpumalanga, honorable members. Mlotshwa, since his arrest to date, he has never seen the doors of his office. He's a member, has been booking of sick ever since. His last sick note was in last month. He's still been on sick. But Mr. Adams brought him in one of the corridors here of Parliament with a television while you were busy inside. They were having a press briefing outside. I think days before he came before you. So he was on that assault that he was talking about, which is the same case that was open in Johannesburg. So they went to police station to open a case. Fast forward, he come and sit on this chair. So it's a person who was arranged for him to come and talk bad about Mkhwanazi. That's how we landed here.
So the evidence is that Mr. Mlotshwa would have used the procedural process of Parliament to appear. because I think what is bothering Honorable Sangon is that it may appear as though that he is a witness that was submitted to the committee by Honorable Adams.
Honorable Chair, Acting Chair, I will take that. I cannot prescribe because I do not know how the members decide on listening to a person. I like to believe that you are presented and then you deliberate and you accept the person. But for the person to come to you, be presented before you, he had arrived in Cape Town a few days before that, in public office. So for him to travel from there, come here, have a press briefing, go to a police station, 2 days later is in Parliament. From the layman point of view, you might conclude committee for having done wrong. But what I meant to say, he came here and was accepted to appear before the commission, present his story.
Honorable Sangon requested a follow-up when you're outside.
Yeah.
So that's what we're Honorable Matheus, you are duly recognized.
Chairperson, the last day for acting. Lieutenant General, so you're saying that he opened a case in Cape Town regarding the torture,
Also,
or his alleged torture, rather,
also,
a few days ago, before he appeared here.
that's correct.
And then he also reported here that a case was already opened in Houghton Police Station almost a year ago. So it's all the same thing.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. We just need to get the case number and follow up on that. Thank you.
Evidence leaders, you can proceed. If members eat your time, at 1:30 you must indicate to me how much time you lost to members, and I will compensate you. It is their decision that you must finish at 1:30, remember.
General,
Yes, sir.
yeah, we were just going through the list of items that you mentioned in your press briefing, and at 6.8, you refer to unnamed judges, magistrates as part of the crime syndicate, which again also involves politicians. Is it what you know but you can't disclose? Has it been communicated to you that you can't give the names, or do you have names and for some reason you can't make it known to us?
Yeah. Honorable Chair and members, at times I know we are in a country that is governed by the legislation, so we have to follow the law on things. That's why we cannot name a person if we have not necessarily arrested a person or have an evidence presented before you that says a person did A to Z. However, we have evidence that is part of the criminal investigations where recordings and documentations are available as part of the case dockets, where the actions of officials that are given a responsibility to make sure that the law is upheld are deliberately manipulating that. So a classic case that I'll put before you. I'm not saying that these are prescribed, but the powers for bail are given to the presiding officers. So one presiding officer abuses the powers that they're given in order to benefit certain individuals. The only recourse that a person has is to go through the prescribed legal process that might take time. So I'll draw attention to a typical example that not me, but the judge have said it, which I made a reference to Ms. Korabana, what happened with the release of one of the police officers that was arrested. The magistrate released the man and says, go back to work. But another magistrate release other people on the same case, and the magistrate says, do not enter any premises of crime intelligence in the country. Now, I'm call it an error, but they've been to court to try and argue this thing. The very same magistrate doesn't want to listen to them, and he keep postponing until eventually he want to withdraw himself from the case. The magistrate, the court says the magistrate erred in coming up with a general. In coming up, see, allow me. The magistrate erred in coming up with a bail condition that they stay using that as a typical example.
Yeah, but is that enough to infer?
No,
that,
but
that these magistrates or judges who make mistakes, they make it all the time, every day. Everyone involved in the criminal justice system. That's why we have a system of appeals from the lower court to the highest court, so that mistakes and errors can be corrected. But my question is that sufficient for you to draw a conclusion or an inference that these magistrates, where one differs with the other, even in the same court, the same set of facts, that they are necessarily involved with crime syndicates or that they corrupt?
Honorable Chair and members, SC, I said the information in writing, information in recording of people talking is part of the investigation in criminal dockets that have been investigated. But the evidence that we're bringing to you is that typical example. Here is the case is that you and me, you'll agree that at the first place they should not even have been arrested. But they get arrested. As if that is not enough. This team is barred from entering crime intelligence offices in the country. Let it sink in, SC. It is a magistrate that exercises a bail condition that the state did not ask for. What does that do? It puts on hold the entire investigation in Gauteng. I told you that these junior members are not sleeping at home. So they have to be paid for in accommodation, not the 5-star accommodation that has been alleged. But they must be paid accommodation where they must stay. They must get subsistence allowance where they are staying. They've got labor rights to work overtime and be paid. So they need resources. They're not getting this. Simply because the court decided that they must not participate in those things. I don't think if you get what I'm saying. Call it a mistake of the magistrate, but it's a deliberate to frustrate this part. And it becomes clear. So we don't need to say you have been part of this, but your action is assisting this. Oh, and I'm going to repeat again, see, maybe not getting me. We did not say Mr. Mkhwanazi is part of the syndicate to thrive. We want to bring it to his attention. He does not want to listen. Instead, he's allowing this criminality to thrive by his action. So it's that what we are bringing to the attention of this parliament that led to this. But majority of them are the enabler of the wrong. So if people come to you for assistance and you help them, you are participating. Yes, the end result of a person to move drugs from point A to point B is to make money with drugs. But you're a police officer of the law, you hold a roadblock on the road. If a person says, make sure there's no roadblock and he gives you money, it doesn't tell you what the reason why you must not have a roadblock is because it's going to be moving something. It just simply say, make sure there's no roadblock. Oh, if there's a roadblock, tell me. It ends there with you. And you do that. You share that information, there's a roadblock at that point. That's enough. This person knows I must not go that route, I must take another route. You are participating indirectly so. So these presiding officers, we cannot say they are making honest errors. Because we've seen that I'm not a lawyer myself. I'm a police officer. So some things just don't make sense when the courts or the presiding officers launch investigations. But while we're launching investigations, things fall apart. And what was with Honorable Chair and members, had the National Commission been removed for whatever reason, SBIA would have become the acting National Commission. That one I can tell you. Members of IDEC that were investigating told me that.
Now, the you don't have or didn't see the judgment of the reviewing court that set aside that decision, because the reason why I'm asking is that that court, if there is a written judgment, would have indicated the extent of the magistrate's errors, if they were errors and whether they were honest errors or whether they were deliberate. If we can move on from there, we've dealt with the sixth of...
In actual fact, maybe honorable members who can allow me, I'm sorry to interject, see. A week before the court made that ruling, I had traveled from KZN to Pretoria, and I pleaded with my boss to allow these members to go back to work. Our legal head is here, he can tell you that. I pleaded with him. I stayed in Pretoria until midnight, and the National Commission allowed them. The employer had already cleared them. The employer had already cleared them. So I did not see the reason why they are not allowed to do their work if the employer have cleared them. So, but they said not doing the work long after they were cleared. So it was that what frustrating me. But more than them going back to work, it was about the junior members that were being frustrated on their investigation because there was no leadership to support them during that investigation. So they were frustrated sitting on their own after having sacrificed their lives in exposing this rod, but they were not getting the support from management because the people that supposed to support them were told or were barred from entering the premises of intelligence.
General, my colleague Advocate Mkhwanazi has just referred me to the I'm just looking for the part where the court criticizes the they refer to in fact, the last paragraph, or second last paragraph of the court's decision. It's a single judge decision. The finding is that the court of court's decision to impose the bail condition appeal against was made without identifying any supporting facts. It is arbitrary and incorrect and does not reflect a proper exercise of judicial discretion. So for you, this is an example of where a presiding officer makes decisions not supported by the facts, exercises a wrong discretion, and this enables the people involved, the drug dealers, the cartel, to continue operating.
Yes, indeed, Honourable Chair and members. It's a worrying factor because you can see deliberately that it's not a mistake. It's a deliberate act.
Okay. Now, just to get to the press briefing, just what triggered the press briefing, and what steps, if any, did you take to avoid having such a press briefing? Were you compelled to have one by circumstances, and what were those circumstances?
Yeah, well, Honorable Chair, I said it before last year when I presented that I had reached out to the National Commission. I tried to reach out to the author of the letter, the minister, within a day after learning of this letter. And I was not granted an opportunity. I tried again to reach out to the minister later part of the year. He still would not afford me the opportunity. I tried to engage with the National Commissioner to raise concern about this and to try and get the minister to sit around the table, and that was not successful. I reached out to Honorable Cameroon, and I think it was in February when I asked Honorable Cameroon to allow me to appear before this portfolio committee so we can talk about this. And I'm grateful to the Honorable Cameroon that he did allow me, gave me that opportunity. Although the meeting could not sit in February, there were postponements. I think it was scheduled to sit twice until it ended up in March. And we appear in March and we raise these issues, but the minister just dismissed it. And later I learned that there was a meeting on the 6th, the day after the portfolio committee, where this matter that I had raised was discussed, and I was not even invited to be that meeting. And subsequent to that meeting, there was another meeting in Johannesburg where they were discussing the same issues. So a lot of things that had happened, which I tried to inquire about. I wrote letters to Kumalo to explain why the dockets were taken. And I raised this thing on the National Commission. I asked the National Commission, did you authorize these dockets to move? He said he didn't. And I pleaded for him to give me a statement to confirm that. So it was my last option to say there are three arms of government, and all three of them are appointed by the people of this country. If we're trying through the executive, the minister seems to be supporting the wrong that is happening. And I'm talking to my boss to get through to the president about this thing, and I'm not getting any positive response. That means the executive is not helping me and the team. So then I moved to the legislature, parliament, hence the 5th of March. But what comes out of it, it doesn't seem to go deeper into this. And for me, I feel maybe there's nothing else I can do. Because what I see here, the other third arm of government, which is judiciary, seems to be part of this chaos. You just read the judgment. So a procedure to judiciary is for me to write and take this long for an investigation to be conducted that will come with the result after a year. And this is quite urgent. So what else do I do? Let me then tell South Africans that the three arms of government that supposed to help guide against this wrong, it seems to me that we have failed to convince these three arms of government to deliver or to assist us. It was in that's why I cannot blame all of them, because Parliament can only engage with one committee out of hundreds of committees here. Majority of members sitting maybe didn't have a clue about what was going on. They will say if they were in that committee, they would have dealt with it differently. I agree. In executive, it was the minister that we're trying to reach out to, but via the National Commissioner. I didn't go to the president. The president might turn around and say, but you never brought this thing to me, Mkhwanazi. So why are you complaining? But I couldn't get directly, I could only via the National Commissioner. But how do I get to the Chief Justice? Again, I must write via my boss to take it to that route. So those are all platforms that I felt in. This thing has got to a stage that, and I told the National Commissioner, give these facts to the president. And the National Commissioner asked, give me the content. We prepared the content and we gave it to the National Commissioner, we were supposed to discuss with the president. Then we left. So when I was addressing the nation, I felt it is important for me to present this content. We can't wait anymore. That's why we presented it on the 6th.
And the role of the media, you had this press conference. It was prominently, very widely advertised. The example of Kat Matlala's tender, it appeared in the media, it was investigated. In fact, we heard from General Masemola, quite worrying, that had this not been raised by Minister Mkhwanazi in a briefing they held on the 24th of December, just almost a week before the directive, where he flagged the award of the tender to Kat Matlala. That was as a result of the media. Now we know I don't think we need to debate that these media and media platforms are used for many different reasons, different purposes, different people, different agendas, different narratives. But will you accept that the media, together with Parliament, the courts, the people of this country, have an important role to play in addressing and correcting because we have a free press? You agree?
No, 100%. 100%. I agree. I've said when we were doing the press briefing on the 6th of January that if it was not for media, South Africans were not going to hear us. Thanks to the media that we could hear. Thanks to the very same media that makes media. We must not turn a blind eye that we have the bad ones. I've raised some journalists. There's one typical example, and I must say, and I've said it before, a media house employs people. The journalists that are employed, Mkhwanazi from the Sunday World. I'm not inviting you to go and read Sunday World because they're going to make money out of you. But they've got a tendency of writing a lot of negative things. Here is an investigating officer. You might have heard of a matter of Calvin Matibeti that I'm in court with recently. In his office, I'm not saying him, but in his office, someone is asking for an ID number of an individual. The journalist hears it. And this journalist writes a media inquiry to the South African Police Service and puts this ID number and says, sorry to come and talk about details of people. What the journalist does, he writes to the Minister of Police. He says, Minister of Police, I've sent this complaint this question to the police, they don't want to respond. That's how the police, we've got bad ones. The media might be as bad as we have. So we can't say journalists are good. Media is important as much as the police.
Yes, we've got bad people all over the place.
Yeah, so it mustn't be.
Our best chance and our best hope is to ensure that the good prevail over the bad.
That's correct.
And that is why your media briefing on the scene is suspected for many years.
Yep.
So that's good. So, but you don't close down certain institutions. For example, bad media, bad press, bad journalists. I'm going to ask my colleague, Ms. Mkhwanazi, to deal with and just to ask.
I intend to refer to the events dealing, or rather from paragraph 9 onwards of the memorandum, the items. And you refer to the establishment of the Matlanga Commission and the Ad Hoc Commission. Now, and where you refer to the various role players that were involved in the implementation of the directive, like Mr. Nkabinde and Mr. Mkhunu, and also General Kellen. You had a graph where you indicate the respective roles that they played. I'm trying to get the diagram thrown up so that when you provide us an update of events and to the extent that you can, speak about your subsequent investigations and the outcomes thereof. Chair, if I can just be assisted to have the diagram, there's Mr. Romano now, to just put up the diagram so that General Mkhwanazi can just speak to that. General, while Mr. Romano is putting up the diagram, maybe let's start with, we now know that the Matlanga Commission was established and this committee was subsequently established. You've spoken about witnesses that have been called, which you recommended and which other witnesses. Did you want to identify certain issues that came out of evidence that were given by those witnesses that could assist in you giving an update on subsequent events?
To watch the proceedings as they unfold. We get to notice what is happening at the Matlanga Commission, and we also get to see what's happening before this House. And the concerns that one will have, appreciating, as I said earlier, the long hours that the honorable members are putting into this, sacrificing your sleep and stuff like that, and interrogating facts. But when we see committee members that have a posture of seem to suggest that they are in a corner of Mkhwanazi, or they're in a corner of Mkhwanazi, or they're in a corner of Sbia, or they're in a corner of Mkhwanazi, and so forth. It is that is sin. I said to that person, but when he's aggressive towards one person and he seems to be praising the others, he then sends a wrong message, President. But what I was worried about is that there are some instances where the honorable members will seem to fight out. So you should not put back and ask questions in future. Well, you've done now, this is the end. But I would have expected in future that you become aggressive to everyone as you are aggressive. Honorable James and everyone else will experience that. And until we come and you don't necessarily say, pass a question, you get an answer, you take note. Don't tell Mkhwanazi in the face that, because on the outside person who's in a favor of Mkhwanazi, they'll judge you. So, and the person talks something that you like out of it, so that when you deliberate, when you're together, you are able to say, these are facts, this is fiction, and this is what we must do going forward. Then you come up with a report. So we must guard against that in future. That is my only observation that I had, and I thought when I have an opportunity, I'll address it. And I did raise it when the chair gave me the opportunity earlier.
Then, General, just with reference to that diary, at least only two of the scenario, is there an update on some of the investigations, and can you maybe inform the House whether, because when you came here, you came on allegations, and we understood that all of these things were still subject to further investigations. So what what way could we find the evidence in support of it?
To see on the diagram involves those that's supposed to assist the police in making sure they're being the perpetrators to all those other than the red dots. So whether you're a government official in the police, whether you're a government official outside the police, you're a private individual, you're part of the media, you're a parliamentarian, executive authority, or whatever role that you play, you're supposed to be asked. Honorable members, was that these officials that's supposed to help are connected one way or another. That's what we were trying to reflect on this screen, so that you get to see that we have identified each entity and the role played. We didn't give more details. We were talking about journalists. When we say agents of misinformation, Merity Haas, I don't know what title she moves with now. Mr. Or Miss, she's not a professor. You find the Merity Haas in the black square. You're going to find the police surveillance. So all these people that are peddling information, that are creating problems, they are in there because they've been used and they participate. We are showing the security cluster, the top right corner. It's supposed to help us to win. But when you have the likes of Mr. McBride, that Nkabinde came to confirm his role. Remember, he said, Nkabinde told me these things about IP. Nkabinde was here. Adams' transportation with blue lights, police cars to the prison in KZN through his cousin, using blue lights of the state. So these are the things that we're concerned about. We're highlighting it here. IP, Evan Keme said, no, I heard it from the media. The case of Louis Vuitton is sitting at IDEC, I'm told. Cleared or not cleared, but it was at IDEC. How it went to IDEC because it migrated with the IP members under Sisoko when the IDEC was formed. They took these dockets with them to IDEC. Is that what the parliamentarians wanted IDEC to do? It's a question. So these are IP. Tunisia didn't complain. The same head of IP, he goes and tells the acting minister that no, this complaint came from the chief of staff. He whispers. To date, nobody tells me about what's happening within Bangani case. Communicating with Kat. He came here and he confirmed that. So we're trying to show that there are people here in our organization who talk that the almost duplicate of what we know as union building in South Africa was run in the farm that belonged to one Mr. Mkhwanazi. People will account. The whole lot will account. Give the list of those that have made a turn that they've had to account. You'll be shocked. It's taking over from him. The name that the media are even afraid to pronounce, Steve Mutsumi, amongst others, and nobody says anything about it. It means we are allowing the bad to continue to happen. So we are having these red blocks. We are not saying they're the only ones. There are many red blocks. But what brought about the letter of the minister was as a result of these ones. There are many others.
Been happening at the Matlanga Commission and also in front of this committee, and it does seem that a bigger network has been exposed. Would we be correct to say that it is in fact a bigger net they fear some of the individuals implicated in the cartel and syndicates?
It is that bad. We expose, honorable members, the activities of law enforcement. Amongst them was Metro Police. You've seen what has happened with the Gurulin police officer, by the member of the Special Task Force, the person that worked under my command. I was involved on that Saturday arrest, assisting the team to get him. It is that bad. The owner of the security company that gave him, please come and fetch it. Take it to ballistic and test it. I hope and pray that it is the gun that was used, because if it is, then we have a serious problem. But I'm used to use this gun. And the gun is an AK that has got a mounting for this aim point on top. For those nose guns, once you have an aim point on top, it takes a second to release that shot accurately to the target. So wonder why the witness TV was killed. These are events that unfolded after. We might say we are grateful for what has been discovered, but we're also worried because there are still other people that are in danger as these things are unfolding. When you hear the general saying, we are afraid to call the names of certain people, but he appeared in Pretoria, and there are many other officials that are implicated. Ngosi, such and Ngosi is one of them. But there are others that I did not know whether the investigation has been launched, and some of them recently I've learned. Typical example is a general that was off because of the behavior and the things she said. I don't know if you listened to what she had said on record to Jarosbia when she says you run a good opportunity of becoming a national commissioner. This is a typical person that was here that portray a certain image. He's one of us.
I'll ask Mr. Romano to play the recording, but I'm handing over to Mr. Arunsa.
The Sibia recording.
The recording between General Sibia and General Sentumule.
You can already play it there, or you want me to play it?
Romano.
Yeah, please do. Please play it there. So this is, honorable members, just for you to see that everyone that appears before you, don't say Mkhwanazi is 100%. Honorable Soul says, put a straight face, throw questions, don't celebrate, we walk out. You make your decisions. That's what I'm asking for. So Sentumula comes here with their own things. And when she walks out here, she's more like a celebrity. And even some members are even thinking that, this is a potential person. I removed her at Crime Intelligence in 2012. Nobody asked why. Speaks to Spear, you can tell it is not a good person. When I presented, I said I had experience of manipulation of resources of Crime Intelligence back in 2020. So it's there are many other things that we might not raise, but yeah, we can talk the whole day. Do you have the video?
I've sent it to Mr. Romano. He's going to play just now. But just while we edit, General, you said nobody asked why she was removed, or that you have in fact removed her from Crime Intelligence. Now that we have you here, would you be able to tell us why you...
And parties, chat gatherings and stuff like that should not be attended using the money. Honorable Chair and members, in 2011-12 when I was acting, I asked the entire management of Crime Intelligence to move away temporarily while we launched an investigation. There were a lot of wrong that we saw at the time that we're trying to deal with, that we didn't get to. There are many Crime Intelligence officials that were benefiting on the wrong. I'm sure the National Commission would have presented before you how Gerald Khan, the darling of some, using secret fund account, amongst others. So there are too many wrong within crime intelligence been happening that we couldn't. So Gerald Sintumule was there at crime intelligence, the abuse of the secret fund account and the resources of crime intelligence that led into a removal. Without getting too much into details about it, but I'm the one that removed it. And fast forward, she becomes the general head of investigations in the police. I must say, honorable members, that clip is not in English, so I'm not sure, Advocate, whether you were able to, that Gerald Sbia recorded. And Gerald Sbia goes to the Matlanga Commission and he says, I recorded Gerald Sintumule because Gerald Sintumule to Sintumule, I want to make sure that I can trust this person, that's why I'm recording it. That's what Sbia said. So he recorded Sintumule. And PKTT, Sintumule is rubbishing. Colonel Kumalo even said, me and Colonel Kumalo, I think we're brothers or a father and son. She made all sorts of allegations, unprovoked by SB. She voluntarily just said all these nasty things about all of us. And at the end, the conclusion, I'm not a closer person, I got someone to translate the words that she used at the end. I don't know who was she giving those, I don't know, is it what, mene get or something like that. But do you know that well? What is the word that she used? She used a word, funny word, that implies that her own boss has got no backbone or something like that. I wrote a complaint to the committee. We would not have known. And she acted as if, no, she was trying to, she is an intelligence person, yes, she comes from intelligence. She can manage. She was in support, 100% of it. She can't turn around and say, Sbia wrote these letters, I didn't agree with it. But when you listen to her on the recording, it tells you that she was in full support. She even said Kumalo was moving around with Lucky. Lucky is me. Even Sbia asked, who is Lucky? I said, no, Jerem Mkhwanazi came before you. That's why I take notes, make your conclusions. Because you're going to come and applaud Mkhwanazi in the presence. So you turn around, someone is going to walk in here and say, Mkhwanazi is this and that and that. Like anyone is in front of you, trust them as a South African. You go back behind doors, you analyze what they're telling you, gather other. That's all I'm asking for.
Okay, General. Honorable Chair, can we break at this point? And hopefully we would require another 30 minutes.
Look at the honorable. You can shake your head again. He's looking at you. Show him that you disagree. Honorable.
And I know that the issue of time, that we should not rush anything here. You in your benevolence, you said you're going to give us 45 minutes, 80 to 45 minutes. Now I'm looking at the time, and I'm looking at all the members who are here. But if it means last time, some members complain about that we are knocking off, we are no longer productive. I'm not sure about in the morning. Thank you, Chair.
You will talk between and amongst yourselves. And then you will come back at 2 and tell me if you are granting the evidence leader a further 30 minutes. When you come back, I need a report from you, honorable members. You are under the leadership of the chief whip here. When I make a decision here, I must make your decision. May you please stand.
subscribe to this notion that one superpower becomes world policeman. It's our view. We don't. If Freedom Front Plus and others subscribe that America must become a world policeman, we don't. We don't agree with that. That somebody must just wake up, just do go from there, pass a law, that this is what we're going to do.
The sound advice of the chief whip is that we are granting the legal team 30 minutes to conclude. 1 hour to conclude. Yeah, that is the sound advice from the office of the chief whip. It is not done out of favor, but out of consciousness that due diligence has to happen. Yes, we do not want you to come during the overview of evidence and point fingers at the committee and say, when I wanted to probe the following, you said no. Can we please go ahead? Bonan, or you are playing it. Did not play.
Honorable Chair, we're just waiting for the recording to be. Shall we, Honorable Chair, shall we permission to proceed in the meantime? Thank you. General Mkhwanazi, you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
You're still under.
Yes, sir.
General Mkhwanazi, a number of witnesses came before this committee, and we will now deal with the ones we have not dealt with in your earlier evidence. We will start with Mr. Paul O'Sullivan. When he came before this committee, he testified that you do not have security clearance, and this is at paragraph 72 of his statement. Before you answer that question, General Masemola took us through the process, the vetting process, and the difficulties that SAPS deals with in trying to obtain the security clearance. However, we have to put the question to you. Do you have security clearance?
The answer is no, I still do not have.
Could you perhaps tell this committee when was the last time you had security clearance and what is the status?
Honorable Chair and members, the crime intelligence, which is part of the problems that we hear, under the leadership of Major General Khan, manages vetting section. In the vetting section, when the security clearance are done, you have to disclose everything about you. Where were you born, where you grew up, the primary school you went to, your friends, family, relatives, bank accounts, and everything about you, assets you own, and so forth. It is that office that controls things. On record, Honorable Chair, the members, my last security clearance, top secret clearance that I had, expired in 2018. It expired in 2018. In 2013, I submitted an application to State Security. State Security did everything, polygraph, everything, tick the box, but they could not issue that because there is foster who's a IP person in KZN, who said to SSA at the time that there's a case of, I'm told, a hit squad or something like that that happened in KZN in 2013 that I'm implicated in. I've never worked in KZN in 2013. I was working in Pretoria. So that's the reason why SSA did not issue another clearance at the time. And nobody came with a feedback. I made an application to Crime Intelligence. It's on record, this. In 2022, today it's not finalized. Crime Intelligence, according to the file that is with the Divisional Commissioner, is that they themselves are coming up with stories. One of the stories that Sunday World wrote a story about an allegations against a case investigated by IDEC against me. They apparently confirmed with Advocate Johnson, who wrote back on an email and said, yes, indeed, IDEC is investigating. The question again, how did IDEC get to investigate stories? How did they get, who referred that thing to them? Why am I not told about it? That's one. Two, there's a case allegedly that was opened in Sinoville in Pretoria, where I was accused of interfering with the investigation. And the people accused there is Pahlane's wife, I don't know who's the third person. Again, nobody have ever come to me about it. This is 22, back then. Again, there's a case open, I think in Brooklyn and Pretoria, if I'm not mistaken, of a car hijacking, of cases that they say they cannot finalize IP more than 3 times. To ask them to explain these cases. So once there's something flagged, it's a reason not to give you a clearance certificate. So that's a deliberate thing done within there. And it does not affect me alone. There's many of us. It is that office that Gerald Khan was controlling, is still controlling, that does vetting, that will make sure. That's why Paul O'Sullivan is going to know about it, being an outsider, that there's no clearance certificates because they are feeding him with that information.
Okay. Thank you, General. So, General, it looks like these cases are, this issue that you have is a historical issue. It dates back to 2022, and we are now in 2026. What is the status of that case, and is there possibly anything that you could do or anybody can do to assist you with finalization of those cases? Because surely it cannot be the reason why you still don't have security clearance.
I'm not in charge of the organization, but if I was in charge of the organization, I would have removed the whole lot that is sitting in that vetting section, starting with Khan, because they are the ones. The whole file of Gerald Pahlane that started that criminal investigation on the house was initiated from the files that were stolen by McBride's girlfriend from that office. So it's a dirty office. So we might want as parliamentarians to start asking yourself a question. How honest is the office of vetting in the police and many other entities? How honest that office is? Because the officials working there, you give them information, they verify, they interrogate you, they bring you for polygraphy, they throw you questions, and they satisfy themselves that you're a good person. They make recommendations. But when these things are supposed to be finalized, someone stalls it. They stole it because a Sunday World published something. They don't have to verify it. As long as they're there, they can't issue. And the right to IPID won't respond. So maybe IPID must then explain. For all these reminders, because from what I know I have no case. They just threw my name in it. So it looks like my name is just flagged. That's why even Nangi's case up there was part of the torture, was part of, so they threw cases all over. That's how the system operates now.
Thank you, General. The follow-up question to that is, if you don't have security clearance, are you then able to access the secret fund? That is at paragraph 73 of Mr. O'Sullivan's statement.
What does he say on the paragraph specifically?
He says that you are not permitted to operate, to access the secret fund without security clearance.
Police
What
Seven
is
is
your
an old
comment?
man, and I mean, as a Zulu man being cultured from the rural areas, it's not going to be a good thing to speak bad about an old person. He was fragile when I saw him sitting here. He's an old man, but the things that comes out of his mouth is problematic. Sarah's problematic. I'm prefacing the response to your question that how that. But number two, I do not work at crime intelligence. I don't get involved with secret fund at all, zero. In a matter of fact, bit of intelligence only got to see me on passages. The first time I ever walked into the office here of the Johnston Committee of Intelligence. It's now after this whole saga of July 6th. Before that, I never interacted with them because it's not my.
How many people are watching?
My role, it was never my role. I respected that the head of intelligence is the one that must account there. Head of intelligence is the one that must control the farms. Head of intelligence is the one who must run the operations of intelligence. I've never been involved with secret fund account.